Hello everyone, it's early Sunday morning, well it's about, I think it's about 10 o'clock, something like that. I've just had a walk up to Bishopwearmouth Cemetery. On the way up I hadn't decided what I was going to do. I just thought I'd think of something upon the way, and I've decided I'm just going to have a walk around this particular ward of the cemetery and see a bit of Bishopwearmouth and Sunderland history. I've done a few stories on people on here, so I know a little bit about a few of the headstones, but obviously I can't remember everything. But I've never actually noticed this was here before. And look, James Lang of Thornhill, Sunderland, born 11th of January 1823. That should be the James Lang of the shipyards down Deptford. That one. So you learn something every day. Honestly, I've never noticed that ever before. I think it's probably because I would have assumed he would have had a much more grand particular memorial, but still fine. He was of Thornhill. I think it might have been Thornhill House, long gone, near St Anthony's in that area. But next to, well, a couple along, a memorial of Andrew White, who departed this life October the 1st, 1856, aged, I think that's 64 or 54 years. Blessed are the dead which die in the Lord. He was the first MP for Sunderland. I think it was back in the 1830s. He was known as the Honest MP as well. Quite rare today, isn't it? But I think he was mayor, or was he the first? He might have been the first mayor of Sunderland, or he was the first MP. He was mayor and MP. I can't remember, because it's a while since I wrote about him. But I never knew he was buried here until one day when I was walking past, and I saw his wife's name, Ophelia. So I had a look, research of her. Then I realised that it was she was the wife of the Honest MP, and that says Ophelia, widow of the above, who died deeply lamented August the 17th, 1867, aged 75 years, after a lingering illness, born with Christian resignation. So she must have known that there was no cure. Now, that traditional epitaph, she is not dead, but sleepeth. She actually died, if I remember, I think it was Alice Street, or Worcester Terrace, very close to the Ivy House in Sunderland. What we've got here, I love that surname, Peart. It's a good Weardale name, because that's my direct ancestors, sorry, I can't speak, are Pearts. But you can tell autumn is arriving. You get some beautiful views of this particular cemetery when the leaves start falling, and as you can see there, nice image. Apologies, I didn't get up there Pennywell this morning. I've been up early, but I just didn't have the energy to get up that early and walk to the bus station and get the bus up to Pennywell, and then come all the way back, because I've got loads to do today. So I'm actually on my way, I think, to Greg's and to Aldi to do some shopping, and also, if the Mountain Daisy's open, I'll probably see if the owners are in and ask them if I can do a video upstairs. In remembrance of John Ness, so Ness should be his middle name, son of Richard and Outhwaite, who died February the 20th, 1868, aged 4 years and 6 months. Oh, but sometimes it's not the middle name, and it might be Richard Ness is the father, so the son's John Ness, and they're just mentioning that the wife's maiden name was Anne Outhwaite. But there's not many headstones in this particular ward, so I'm guessing this was one where you just purchased to pay for a burial, and then maybe years later you put some memorials up. Look at that, in memory of Robert Black, Master Mariner. It's a good Scottish name, Black, who died in China, so far away from home. And of his beloved children, Elizabeth, she died 1868, aged I think that's one. I haven't brought my torch. 8 years, 8 months. And Margaret, who died 1868, aged 5 years. I wish I could read that properly. March. Alright, I think that looks like the children sadly both died in 1868 in March, possibly of the same cause. Now this one is a beautiful little headstone, and there is a story behind this. This is erected by David and Tamar Smith in memory of their 3 children who died at Sunderland in February 1868. So that's Elizabeth Jane, aged 6 years, Isabella, aged 3 years, and David, 1 year and 5 months. So this poor family, they lost these 3 children in the same month of 1868. You know what I mentioned before about headstones being erected at a later date on this particular area? Well, David and Tamar Smith were both from the Shetland Isles. They've come to Sunderland. Bishopwearmouth. David was, I think he was a waterman on the river, and they lost these 3 particular children all in the 1 month. They did have one daughter who did survive, and she did get married. And David and Tamar went back to the Shetland Isles, and so I'm guessing they sent instructions to Sunderland and Bishopwearmouth to get a headstone built for them, and that's probably why it's got that in memory of their 3 children who died at Sunderland. So you would only say died at Sunderland if you weren't actually in the town at the time. Possibly it was miswritten down on the instructions when they came to Sunderland, because you would probably just say who died. You wouldn't need to tell people in Sunderland that died. And this headstone, when I was walking just across here, I noticed this. I've never seen it before, or probably walked past it loads. That's in memory of Thomas Charles Bennett, born September the 29th, 1865, I think, who died suddenly October 1868. That's a child. You don't often see a child died suddenly. But look at this, the cup of life. Oh, I wish I'd brought me torch. That's a lovely epitaph. You might see it on the camera if I point it up at it. Oh, I can read it. This is how good the camera is. I can't see it with my own eyes pretty much. The cup of life, just to his. And then there's a line I can't read. Found the taste, bitter, and declined the rest. A verse then turning from the face of death. He softly sighed his infant souls. This is actually for a child. Sadly, young Thomas passed away. I think it must have been 2 or 3. It's a beautiful epitaph to remember him. I'm going to tell you what we'll do. I'm going to go over here because I recognise one over here. It's headstones like this which got me interested in Sunderland history, because looking at them and then going off and discovering more about the person's life. I wrote on something on Facebook about another story about somebody buried at the Borough Cemetery, and I mentioned the windows into a different world. Erected by Jane Hartford in memory of her beloved brother, Sergeant James McFadden of the Royal Artillery, a native of Carlisle who was engaged at Sebastopol, Inkerman and Alma in the Crimea, born May the 25th, 1827, died August the 16th, 1856. And it mentions John Hartford, who was Jane's husband. This young soldier had been severely injured in the Crimea. I think it was in about December 1855. So he must have been discharged, and because his sister was living here, he came all the way to Bishopwearmouth, and she must have taken him in, her and her brother. Now, I don't know if I ever win the lottery, one of the death certificates I'm going to get is this one, because I don't know if he died of his injuries like months later, or he caught some infection or had consumption or something along those lines. But if you know in Victorian history, Sebastopol, Inkerman and Almond of Crimea, I think the other big one missing, just like the charge of the Light Brigade and what's the other one? Balaclava. But lots of history. Jane did go on to have a long and successful life. She was a marine, I think there were marine dealers down in Johnson Street near the centre of Bishopwearmouth. After her husband died, she married again, a guy called Petrie. I think he was a preacher over Mount Wearmouth, and she lived to a long age. She has got a fine headstone, like memorial in here. I've got a picture of it somewhere, but I'll have to do something over there one day. But I love the epitaph at the bottom. "O death, where is thy sting? ? O grave, where is thy victory?" And there's the little question mark. Now, any mason, you have to pay for apostrophes. Anything like that was all added on. John Brown of Stockton-on-Tees, who died at Bishopwearmouth, March the 7th, 1857, aged 29 years. Now we've got one which mentions Pallion. In affectionate remembrance of Peter, the beloved son of Peter and Mary Carter of Pallion. He died at 1872, aged 4 months. He sleeps in Jesus. Now, I went to the Mountain Daisy the other month and did that video about the stunning bar down there. Now, there is a link to it over here, because that was the new pub that was built in 1901, but there had been one on the site for decades. And one of the previous landlords was a guy called Mark Harmon. He was licensed victualler, and he was the landlord. He'd had an interesting life. He was born in down Westminster in London. His mother was from Staffordshire, and in the 1841 census, he was in Scarborough Workhouse with his mother and the other children, his brothers and sisters, and he ended up in Sunderland. But look, this, in memory of Mark, the beloved son of Mark and Isabella Harmon, died March the 16th, 1872, aged just 1 year and 9 months. This lovely bud, so young and fair, called hence by early doom, just came to show how sweet and flower in paradise could bloom. And there is another one somewhere around here which has a similar sort of history, and I've done some story in that one before, because it was a gentleman who was from Barnard Castle, who used to live near where I used to live. And this one here is in loving memory of William Bell. Lovely engraving there. Son of William and Mary Louise Bell, who departed this life July the 10th, 1862, aged 11 years. Now, this is somebody I don't know anything about. I've never done anything about this particular headstone or looked into it. To be honest, surnames like Bell, probably a lot more complex. And there's a lovely epitaph. Why should we weep our sorrows vain? He has but gone before. We live in hope to meet again and live forevermore. So a beautiful epitaph to a young son who sadly went young. Is this one over here? Somewhere I've missed that one from the Barnard Castle one. So we'll go up into the next section where it's absolutely chocker with dog walkers today. Having to keep the camera faced. Can't go. There's about 2 over there. 4 over there. Try not to get them on the camera. Sacred to the memory of Thomas Morgan, who died January the 13th, 1858. Aged, I think that's 56 years, deeply lamented. And then his granddaughter. I wish I'd brought my torch, but sadly I haven't got any spare space in this because I'm there going to Aldi, so I've got shopping bags in my pockets, my camera. I've never actually seen it since this busy. In memory of John Irwin of Bishopwearmouth. I always mention about the difference between Bishopwearmouth, Sunderland and Wearmouth. See, my eyesight's poor in these conditions, but if I look through the camera, far from a world of grief and sin, with God eternally shut in, and at the bottom, in the midst of life, we are a death for a grandson of for John. That's one of the oldest sections in front of us, next to the Southern Cemetery Chapel. I need to I'll probably do a video in there at some point in the future, because there's just loads of interesting ones in there. I've done some stories in there. And then look at this. That lovely anchor there, look at the skill to carve that. Erected in memory of John Newby, Master Mariner of Great Yarmouth, who died April 30th, 1859, aged 61 years. So I don't know if he was living here and just, he was originally from Great Yarmouth but had moved here and then sadly died. Or he died in some sort of accident off the coast on the river. He was highly respected by all who had the pleasure sadly can't read the rest, but it's a lovely particular stone. Just give you a look around. Absolutely huge cemetery. It's well worth a visit if you love your Sunderland and Bishopwearmouth history. Right, I am going to end the video there. Got a few things to do. So thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like, and if you want to, click on the subscribe to help grow the channel. We're getting close to nearly 2,000 subscribers. I think it was about 1,930 odd this morning. But so thank you very much for anybody who has subscribed, and I will see you somewhere else. Take care.